Welcome back. Tim Horton's status as one of Canada's most reputable companies has taken a heavy hit, falling from 13th place to 67th in the country. Reputation Institute, that's the research firm that conducted the study, and they asked Canadians to rank companies in a series of fields, including workplace governance, citizenship, and leadership. Now, this drop comes in the continued aftermath of Tim Horton's public spat with its employees over cost-cutting measures that were taken in response to Ontario's minimum wage hike. For more on this, we want to bring in retail marketing expert Brynn Winegard, and she's joining us from Toronto today. Thanks for your time, Brynn.
Thanks, Erin.
How important is this fall for Tim Hortons?
Yeah, I mean, certainly they would be expecting this based on the backlash that they've received, as you mentioned, around that employee mistreatment and some of that PR. We've seen other brands drop very similarly in previous years when they've had PR backlash that wasn't managed properly or that they didn't manage properly. It is important for them. This isn't the first survey. As an example, Ledger and National Public Relations came out with very similar numbers earlier this year that said that they had dropped from sort of 4th to 50th. These numbers are even worse for them, but effectively what you're looking at is a drop in the rankings, and Tim Hortons will be paying attention to this.
And what does it tell us about the public's perception of Tim Hortons?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. First, of course, is that consumers noticed when employees were disgruntled. They noticed longer service lines. It was a problem. There was quite a social media firestorm around boycotting Tim Hortons. And so, we saw some challenges there. I think second is that we're starting to see consumers really polarize in the marketplace. A lot of them laddering up, paying a little bit more money, going to Starbucks, places like that. Others saying, I'm going to find the value if the quality isn't there, and going to some of those cheaper, market entrants, new entrants to the market, some of the ma and pa's, you name it, sort of that local trend that we're starting to see. And so really consumers, perking their ears, paying attention to what Tim Hortons is doing differently and maybe not as good.
And as you say, Tim Hortons is going to be paying attention to these numbers. What type of marketing strategies could they use to try to improve their ranking? What should they do?
Yeah, I mean, certainly they have to do something. And so that's the first thing, is to not ignore it. What they should do, and this, I mentioned them really having not gotten ahead of that PR story of that employee benefits nightmare that they really faced a few months ago, and continuing on. And really what they needed to do was get out in front of that narrative. That's the first thing. The second is really own it, apologize for it, be authentic in that apology, make sure that what they're doing is claiming responsibility for what consumers perceive, and employees certainly perceive them to have done poorly or not so well. And then third is to make sure that they're being authentic, specific, transparent, and clear in how it is that they're going to rectify what the problems are, as well as how they're going to continue to deliver to their loyal fan base, to their loyalist brand users, who are the mainstay for them in terms of their net revenues annually, and who are the people that they need to be catering to, that 80% that brings in vast majority of their revenues.
And of course, one company's missteps or mistakes perhaps would possibly be seen as an opportunity for another fast food chain.
Yes, theoretically. Now, I think one of the things we notice in this market is that we're not particularly fragmented, not as compared, as an example, to the US market. So what you're still seeing are consumers, Canadian consumers, who are fairly loyal. They are very highly routinized, we say, which means that once they have their routine in place, we don't see a lot of, switching. We learn this especially in oligopolies. So there is some opportunity, but not like we might see in response to backlash, let's say, to our neighbors to the south. Tim Hortons does have to do something, but what you'll see is certainly those in the routine, their loyalist members, typically no change in behavior from there. Now, the summer is coming, and this is a really hot time for, especially in the fast food category. So it's stand to see who will be able to pop up and make waves in this market.
Retail marketing expert Brynn Winegard joining us from Toronto. Great to speak with you, Brynn. Thank you.
Good to see you. Thanks, Erin.